Peace, family. This is Shophar from Full Show Energy Work.
And this is Kirti from theirSELF Culture.
Yes, and so we wanted to talk to you all today. We're actually, people ask us, like, what is our story, how we met. So we want to share that. And then also we just want to share, like, it's a kind of a celebration. It's 2 years that we've been in relating and together. And so we want to share that journey, and monogamy and some other things. So we're just going to kind of free flow with our conversation and hopefully not edit the hell out of it. So if we get too triggered or if different things come up during it, you may not see the full version. But no, we're going to try to keep it as candid and everything for us and for y'all as well, and let y'all in on our world a little bit. And so, yeah.
So what is your intention for this video?
The intention is to share our story and then also vulnerability, like our journey with just in relating. I feel like there's some tools in there or things that other people can grow from, and learn from.
Yeah.
How about for yourself? What's your intention?
My intention is that those who tune in to watch this, when they watch it, it's gonna serve them at a time when they really need it, and maybe they're asking some of those questions right now too. Stop looking at me like that. And or the people who have just been curious and are wondering, like, how would I ever navigate that? Like, this might just answer some of those questions. So I guess any curiosities or wonderings that are out there right now about what we're doing.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So, well, first off, so back in summer of 2016, I was, me and a couple of friends, we had went to a dance studio. We had started a little meetup group. And so we went to Afro-Cuban dance class or something
Shout
like that.
out to Juan Carlos Blanco.
Yep, Stage 7. Yeah, Stage 7 here in San Diego. And, as we were wrapping up, get ready to leave, I saw this beautiful woman come in. And so I actually tried to make my way over to speak to her. And you know how you can tell when someone isn't really making a way, like they're kind of holding on to it, like she was talking to one of her students or one of the other teachers or something, and you kind of get that sense that they're not trying to end the conversation, so that letting it linger a little bit. And so after a while, I kind of felt like I was going stalker mode, so I went on and pushed on out of there. But that was in summer of 2016.
I just want to say that I did totally notice you.
Yeah.
And I did see you beaming and smiling at me, but because I shouldn't say but, and because I was in a relationship, I just was afraid to open that door and have to, I don't know, upset you, myself, or my partner at the time, So I was almost just kind of like, I knew that the feeling was there, like that we both kind of made eye contact, and I stayed in the conversation because it seemed like the wise thing to do,
It makes sense. Makes sense. No, I got it, and I honest to God, had made a little side note to myself to go back over at some point and take the dance class again and see if I saw her, if I saw you. And, I was also in and out of relating at that point with 2 other women at the time. And so, it never happened. Fast forward to fall of 2017, did Halloween with some friends and everything. And I was dressed up as Jimi Hendrix. And had the fro and the guitar, the headband, and all of that, and posted the picture on Instagram. And a couple of days later, or whatever, maybe the next day, somewhere soon, Kirti liked the picture.
Well, I love Jimi Hendrix.
She loves Jimi Hendrix. And I guess we know some mutual people, a couple of people. Shout out Kiyoshi and other friends. And so somehow I came up in her feed. She liked the picture, and I was like, right away. I remember when I went and saw who liked it, I was like, oh shit, That's her from the dance studio. Then I went on her page to see if I saw any dudes on her page. I saw the side of the hair shaved, you know, and I was like, that's usually a sign that maybe
something's changed, something's big in her going on in her life.
When women, you know, change the hair pretty dramatic, or cut the hair, or do some color or something, you know, it may be a sign that there's been a change.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any dudes anywhere in the top feed. It was like way down. So I was like, let me shoot my shot. Let me shoot my shot. And I hit her up on Facebook, actually, because at the time, in my app, for some reason, I could not do DMs.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. So I hit you up on Facebook and reached out to her, and she hit me back.
And I said, it's never too late, brother.
Yeah, because I told her that, you know, I regret not having spoke to her that day. And she told me it was, what'd you say again?
Never too late, brother.
Never too late, brother.
And I put the brother in there because I wasn't quite
And I said
sure.
sis. I said
and
peace,
you
sis.
said sis, so I kind of responded. I didn't, you know, it's like was just treading, and there was probably still a lot of fear and just like, again, the whole thing of not wanting to talk to you in the first place, like feeling an energy there.
Right.
Actually, ironically, it is interesting because I liked that picture after I had, you know, the relationship previous had transitioned and had come to a completion of sorts. And so when I liked the picture, I was actually in my mind I'm thinking about abstinence is where I was at, because I started to feel this need and desire to understand how my sensuality and my sexuality was at play in terms of the patterns of my relationships with men. And also seeing that after, you know, changing a career transition also was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. Like what's going on with men, the pattern, and then with my career. And so I was thinking abstinence because I thought maybe there is something that is similar with what's playing out in my career as well as my relationships with men. Yeah, so it was just, I don't know even why I started talking about that.
Well, I think there's just more background. Yeah, just more background about...
Oh, the abstinence piece. Oh, yeah. So I was actually, so and I got your message. The abstinence piece was really about me wanting to just take myself out of the game. Because I felt like, dang, I don't have a right to play like this relationship game. It's been 20 years and 3 very marriage-like relationships, and me just really trying to push getting married and push having children and trying to do the family thing. So I was at a place I was like, maybe I should try totally the opposite, and perhaps I'm like on this planet for a different purpose and I'm fighting it. So right when I was having a conversation, this message came through, and then remember in my head I was like, maybe one more time. Maybe this will be like my last flurry of fun, and then, you know, I really want to go internal.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
It's been a 2-year flurry of fun.
Yes. And, you know, we hung out, and, you know, the rest is, as they say, her story. You know, our story.
Yeah.
You know, his story. You know, and very fortunate that over the 2 years, I mean, like 2-3 months into our relating, we were already doing energy work sessions together. You know, and then within 6 to 7 months, we did our first workshop together. You know, you actually introduced me to a friend of yours, you know, shout out to Jen, where I actually did a workshop probably 4 months, you know, which was new for me, with someone else, you know, another tantrika, you know, doing tantra. And then we did hip hop kundalini, our first hip hop kundalini together, like 6 or 7 months into our relating. And it's just been uphill from there. So it's been a beautiful, you know, spiral and relating and everything. And it brings us to where we are now, you know.
So it's been 2 years.
Yes.
And we've been
2 years of monogamy.
Yeah. So tell us about your 2 years of monogamy being a historically non-monogamous
being,
masculine-bodied being.
Yes.
Because that's a big one, right? Like, to be monogamous, like the challenge of how society even, you know, puts that out about not being monogamous or being monogamous as a man or a woman, you know, this.
For sure. For sure. I mean, to be honest, any type of relating is going to have its challenges, for sure. And monogamy has its challenges, and this is the longest that I've been in a monogamous relating with anyone, and you know, so it did present over these last 2 years different challenges, but then also breakthroughs, and for me, just navigating that and the communication, those times when we were triggered, those times when we, you know, our communication maybe wasn't the best. There was a lot that we learned in that process, and but the one thing that I'll say that I would speak out there to everyone is just keep communicating. One of the things that I came to the table with, you know, that from the beginning is I haven't had these blow up, X you out of my life relatings with any of the, you know, a lot of the women that I've related to in the past. So in other words, there's still connection there. There's still friendship or openness or even, dare I say, attraction, you know? And so with that being said, you know, I was bringing that to the table, and I've been, you know, in communication about that from the beginning, and just being honest, which I can imagine with empathy, if it was to flip the other way, I understand why sometimes it was challenging, you know, like if you were to tell me, like, I still have connections with, you know, my past lovers, or that I'm attracted, you know, but the one thing that I really, you know, so you asked me in the beginning, like, what is it I'm hoping, what are my intentions out of this, is just to ask, especially the masculine, to be honest. First with yourself, and then with any of the dear women who are, that you're blessed with, having them give you the time of day. You know, to have this beautiful woman in my life, she deserves honesty. And when we don't give honesty, then we take away their power to make a sound decision. And sometimes we meet someone that's so amazing, you know, and you're afraid that your honesty, she may run off. But she deserves the ability to make that decision for herself. What do you think?
Wow, that's good. What am I talking to?
Well, I mean, about the whole idea of taking away. So let's talk on that a little bit. Take it by not being honest, by not being in integrity with yourself, and then with her, you take away her power. And this can go the other way too, but we see it play out a lot more with the masculine to the feminine, where you meet someone good, and maybe you're still dipping in with one of your quote unquote exes, or I like to call past lovers, or you meet someone new outside, and you realize you have something special, and you're like, fuck, I don't want to lose that. So then you start quote unquote cheating and doing a lot of what I would call little boy stuff. And so if you could speak to that a little bit about how us not being honest can take away your power to make an informed decision.
So yeah, because in the past, the relationships that I had definitely involved like other women. However, I didn't know about them. And so when I found out about them, it was like, you know, through a breakup, right? Or it was through me finding out, you know, just my intuition and following the signs, and then, you know, finding out maybe right away, maybe too late. I don't know. That's all the past. But it definitely developed a lack of trust in my lovers, and also trusting the masculine bodied lover, because it felt like you would, not you, but I would be told things to just be eased, but really what my lover wanted was something different than myself. And because he didn't want to break my heart, because I'm a good person, you know, he kept it to himself and managed that all on his own. So I know that, like, for some women, this could be really triggering right now, because I'm totally not putting myself in the victim role in a cheating situation. And I've been really doing a lot of hard work to not do that, to work through my own trauma about it. And of course, the universe would bring me somebody who's never practiced monogamy, and put me in the fire of like my own mirror and my own reflection of kind of a lot of entitlement and ownership of what I kind of believed to be what my man did with his genitals, and own that. And I see now that had we had the tools, they were all really beautiful and amazing men. Had we had the tools to talk through what they were feeling and what they desired and what they wanted, and perhaps what was the reasoning for why they were seeking outside attention, and we could get deep into that, we may have had a longer, more fruitful relationship, or we may have not hurt each other so badly. And not to say that I would reverse any of my past. I totally love and respect every single man that I've been with and that has come into my life, and that has caused me happiness and tears, because it's brought me, you. And I have to say, like, this has been, a beautiful experience of just self-discovery for me more than anything. And I really do mean that, like, you've really helped me find my way back to myself. And I think it's a blessing that Divine sent a man to do that for me when I was holding so much anger against men. And to now be in a place where I truly do love men, and can feel that it's not because I'm owed something that the next man needs to do me right because the last man did me so wrong. And lots of stuff and story there to unwind and unfold. But that's a big one for why I think honesty is really important, because it's been it's been a blessing to have somebody tell me what he's feeling instead of it happening anyway and never hearing about it, right? So It's kind of like, if you know that your kid is going to sneak those cookies, how about instead of forcing the child to sneak their cookies, creating a conversation where the child can talk about why they're craving the cookies? And it's kind of also a principle that's helped me deal with my own addictions and helped others deal with addictive behaviors too. It's like, instead of creating such a strong discipline and protocol that's going to make you feel guilty and shameful about what you're doing, how about really going deep and diving into what is the thing that you're craving to feel? What is that? So this is the honesty piece helps you go there, because I'm not being surprised or caught off guard by it, but instead there's space for conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. And, to be very candid and, let's be very honest about it, it wasn't like this seamless, it looked messy sometimes, to get through the process, you know what I mean? Like, the first few times that I expressed myself, but kind of half expressed myself, or, and that unfolding didn't have necessarily a whole lot of grace to it sometimes. But we got through it.
We did.
Thankfully, some of the things I would say out there, make sure you have some good mentors, shout out to, the homies and mentors that, friends and wise people in my life and everything that have helped me out, and the same for yourself,
Yeah, for me, I mean, I didn't really have any mentors in this field of being. I do have, I'd shout out like 3 names that totally helped me, and they do this work. So one is Jen and Shunya Gates, and she has been just like such a mentor for me in terms of finally living the life of free expression that I believe I deserve. And Soul of Soulful Word, he's a poet and he's a dear friend of both of ours. And he has just been a beautiful divine masculine energy and presence to reflect. And along with Soul, I should even, shout out other brothers' names here, but I don't know if they are doing that work that want to be reached out to. And then I'd say Golden Awakening. Like, she has just always really helps me remind myself of like my feminine presence and my human spirit and what I'm really here on the planet to do, which is love. And so for me, it's really been about finding friends, that I can openly talk to that aren't going to be like, damn, that's fucked up, girl. Like, you're going to let somebody do that to you? You're going to, like, this guy's, like, straight up telling you he's attracted to other women. You're going to go be down with that? And, like, you're going to let this happen to you again? You know, constantly hearing that voice of, like, patterns and false belief systems of, like, this is what men do to women, and this is how women have been treated from the beginning of time. And it's just been, like, you know, it's very difficult, especially as an empowered woman, you know, to feel that influence and balance. But then it's really beautiful to have friends that you can go to and say, I love this person, and I want him to be happy, and this is what I'm dealing with. Would you be willing to just listen to me and hold space for me and just reflect, where is my ego at play? Where is my you know, mind patterning at play? And where is my heart involved? And I think that, you know, mentors are a great step. And then I would also say finding your personal practice of passion that doesn't involve another person. So like, what is the thing that you do that makes you lose track of all time and nobody else is involved? It's just you. And really honing in on what that practice is, so that when you're in these moments of, like, extreme anxiety and trigger, because, like, let me just say it, sometimes you find out a little later than you wanted to that something has happened, and you're just like, okay, well, the way that's
Nothing
falling out.
with the genitalia.
You are so funny.
Let's be very clear here. Nothing with genitalia or lips, or, you know, but yeah, but just
Feeling.
but even feeling and just being in people's presence.
Setting up plans
Yes.
to see somebody.
Yes. Yes.
And not being in the know of
Right.
that was challenging. Especially where it's like, yes, we've talked about it, we have an understanding, but that is the feminine. The masculine, okay, so that is the Shakti. Let me hear what you need. And the Shiva is, what is the protocol and the process that we're going to create so that both of us are supported in this. And that part is very scary, because you've got to deal with processes that both people feel safe and comfortable with. So yeah, okay, he made the decision about genitalia, but we went back and forth over that for a long time too, where I finally came to an understanding of genitalia, no genitalia, handshake, no handshake, conversation, like everything could lead to another. And is that, again, creating shame and guilt for each other, you know? So those times where things like that happen, and as a woman, your intuition might get sparked, and you're like, oh, something's wrong, and you're feeling it all day, and a lot of you might know exactly what I'm talking about. And it could mean that, like, your partner or your kids or your family members, nobody's doing anything wrong, but you have this feeling that something is in the air. And then when you call out on that, sometimes you feel like you're crazy, because the reaction you get is almost like, no, that's not what it is. And then there's conversation that has to happen, and an unfolding that has to happen. So in those states, to make sure, and I feel like I've definitely, you know, learned that, I don't want to say in a hard way, but in a way of trial and error, where in those states, you've got to go to that place where you lose track of time and you're serving yourself and you have, like, your own creative practice. Because when you do that stuff, it reminds you of, like, who you are and what your gift is and how important you are, and how you technically, at the end of the day, don't need anybody for your happiness. You know, everybody who you believe is a part of your happiness, you have allowed to bring you happiness. So that creative practice helps. So, like, mentors, and then finding your Zen zone, you know.
Your Zen zone, ZZ. Yeah, so the Zen zone, I like that. And one of the things I want to say about just a general protocol that can be helpful for people is just slow down. Like, you know, like, in this process and everything, take your time. You remember, we're talking about the feminine. We're not talking about the masculine, like a quick, you know, spark or a microwave. We're talking about something that it takes some time to stew it up what I find, and this is me personally, and I feel that in general, with polyamory or, you know, multiple energies going on, a lot of people jump way too fast into it. And to take some time to slow down. One of the things that I'm saying lately is, like, This is my new mantra, is to try to take off the mask before we take off the clothes. You know, take off the mask before we take off the clothes. And you know, and one other, it's not a direct mentor, but it's someone I've learned from, Rakim, and I'll post my interview with him, podcast with him soon. Re-put that back up, but that was a really good one, because he says in his book about open relating that there's 3 levels. Number 1 is when you're just being honest. You know, we're having an open conversation. You know, and me and Kirti have had that from the beginning, because the very first night that we actually met in the flesh, you know, it was at a dance party. I had invited like 4 other women, you know, or 3 other women, and ran into another woman. So it ended up being 4 women there. And I asked one of my homies, shout out to Kiyoshi, to be my wingman, to help me navigate. I was feeling the most energy with Kirti at the time, you know, but it's like, I didn't know how to be honest, it was actually a self-protection measure as well. I was like, I'm going home, like something, I'm gonna connect with somebody, you know, and in case she's not feeling me, I'll put things in my, you know, in my corner. But anyway, I say all that to say that we end up dancing, and it was beautiful tribal music and drums and everything. And I danced with other women, she danced with other guys, but we always came back to each other, you know. But anyway, I say all that to say that from the beginning, we were very showing each other like who we really are.
Right. And I was like in a place of like, either like I'm going to be abstinent, or I'm not really interested in looking in a monogamous relationship. I was like, it hasn't been working for me. Maybe I'm not that type of person. Yeah.
No, you know, so I say number 1 is just the open, being honest. And Rakim talks about, and the second level is, okay, now you're starting to get to a place where you have emotional connection, where you're actually emotionally connecting with a person. The third stage is where you actually do things with your genitalia, you know? And they have all sorts of, I definitely say check Rakim and his wife out, Kenya, Juju Mama, check them out. They have some dope stuff that's very helpful. But taking your time to not move to those levels too fast. Just be patient and start with just being honest with yourself, and then honest with your lover. And also, before I forget, I want to shout out my other, you know, mentors or homies, you know, like Big Ram, homie Ram, the big brother. I definitely appreciate him. He was one of the people that I can bend his ear a little bit, and he'll give me some sound, you know, wise, you know, knowledge, or just listen to me, if nothing else. The homie Chad, you know, with One Love Tantra, him as well, amazing energy work healer, good homie, a good friend, one of my best friends. He always has some wise things to say. And then Nitiyama, Shantam Nitiyama, he was one of the 3 masters that I learned from, that I learned the energy work from. So there was times when I actually talked to him, and again, he just helped me realize, like, man, you're doing little boy shit right now. You know, speak your truth, man, live your truth, walk your truth, and helping to instill in me that I'm not doing something wrong because I have loving connections with other human beings. You know, we're not, that's another thing I like for us to talk on, the flow there. And one other person, I actually got a session with your friend Jen, you know, and that was very helpful. With how do you say it, Shunya Gates?
Shunya Gates.
Shunya Gates, you know. But let's talk a little bit about how just the idea of connecting with human beings, that we're not doing something wrong, you know.
Yeah, well, I think because that's probably was my biggest hang up. And I think that this is a big one, because, you know, we've been raised to believe that there's one.
Right.
You know, like for me, every Bollywood movie growing up was, you know, damsel in distress, or, you know, the pauper boy who's in love with the rich girl, and how they're not accepted by society and community, and their love saves the day and they live happily ever after, you know. The fairy tale stories that we grow up with, you know, the kiss of the prince, you know, wakes you up. And, you know, there's so many deep levels of the wounded feminine that is actually at the root of so much of our upbringing. And if you want to really explore this, I really encourage you to read Women Who Run with Wolves, because she really goes so deep into so much of the global folklore and how it's, reflects on the divine feminine. So I think that we've been raised to think that there's one as women, and that there's a knight in shining armor, and there's a king that's going to come save us and provide us with everything that we need. And that's a really high, tall order, actually. And I think from, my first high school sweetheart, and then, I've been on a roll since then. And I think that might be why I've had a rolling cycle of just long relationships, because it's like, in the beginning, it's like, yeah. And as you get to know each other, you get to see people's patterns and stuff. And you're like, oh man, he doesn't have the capacity to do this, and this. Then you're left with the decision of, man, like, do I stay or do I go? And really that decision is honestly based on the qualities that you see in him that don't resonate with you. Are you willing to oversee those? Are you willing to overlook those to stay together? And so it immediately relating becomes a compromise. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's where I kind of was at the end of it, where I was just like, man, I feel like I have been, and just to let you know, this is beyond relating, like, also in the workplace, the same thing was happening to me, where it was just like trying to be the best, the one on top, as well as be noble and righteous and have integrity. And it's just hard when you're raised in a system where it's like, you do anything to get to the top. You do anything to be his one, and he should do anything to be your one. Mm. And then that now all of a sudden there's not infinite possibilities. Mm-hmm. There's one possibility, and you better figure it out. And if you don't, you're a failure.
Yeah, the idea of the one, the Neo, the lone savior, the Jesus, like, these are ideas that have seeped into our romantic life. It's seeped into our expression of with God, and so we see it in multiple aspects. And these are things that really hit to the core. For me, there's been so much fear around. You meet someone so amazing, and then quote unquote losing them because of the inability to quote unquote focus on them or whatever. Mm-hmm. And these are all things, fears to let go of, and to keep doing our work so that we show up. One of the beautiful things that Kirti has helped me with is to transition even more. I had been doing a lot of work before I met her, but she helped me transition. I won't say fully, there's still more work to do, but there's a lot of progress that's been made on moving from lust to love, and I feel pure enough now that if I'm attracted to a woman that is not coming from just a straight lust place, and it's something that, okay, if I'm attracted to someone, there's some, and it doesn't mean that we do something with our genitals, but it means that there's something there. Maybe we end up doing, writing something together or doing a workshop or whatever. Something wants to be born or give birth to, or there's something that needs to play out there, And so I trust myself enough now to know that. And, and in wrapping up, and before I forget to, I also want to give a shout out to Danielle McKinney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you also helped both of us out, and you definitely helped me out a lot as well. She is another great one. She does coaching services. Check her out. I'll put all these people's links in the caption or whatever. But Danielle definitely, helped me just with some basic understandings about how to navigate this that I really appreciate. And then also my mom and sisters as well. Like, there was different times of day also, just being able to talk to them helped me out. So in wrapping up, is there anything, we have more on this stuff, and we'll make more videos, but for now, is there anything in closing out you'd like to leave the family with?
I'd say that, this has been a really intricate process. I'm in the very beginning stages of it, and the thing that keeps me open to it, in terms of allowing my lover to be fully expressed with all people. Okay, so this isn't just like, oh, okay, he wants to go out and get laid. Right. This is about like truly aligning into your truest desire and being open to the magnetism that comes from that. In order for me to remain open to that and not get caught up in the brainwashing that I've been raised with, I truly desire that for myself.
No, sure.
And
Did
so
wait.
I need to
Fellas, did you hear that? Because a lot of, in our interview, me and Rakim talk about that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's a really good point. It's that a lot of guys who want to be open, they really want polygamy. You want multiple women, and you want them to be twiddling their thumbs, and you want them to close their light down, and they can beam so high, like they can, like the dodging dick thing, that's a very real thing. Like any attractive woman probably can go in her Instagram feed at any point.
I have so many women after teaching retreats that always come up to me and they were like, how do you manage like your passion and your attraction with men? Like that's a very common question I get. And I'm always, when I ask, well, what makes you ask that? It's just like, how do you manage like people being attracted to you and like not, hurting their feelings, hurting men's feelings that you don't want to sleep with them because you've started a conversation and all of a sudden this open heart conversation means an open legs conversation, which you never signed up for,
right.
And I think that's a whole nother video, because I think that we as women also have such a big responsibility in that too, and navigating that and actually helping our men see that like, oh, okay, this is what you're really craving here. And we've just been tricked to think that it means sex, but really you're craving this type of connection. And how can that connection be made? But as women, we've been so trained to feel it, that that's what it is that we do dodge those interactions because we truly don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and we're flattered. And at the same time, I just want to drop this seed that as much as you dodge, the way the universe works, if you find that you're dodging a lot or you're avoiding those conversations with men a lot, the equal and opposite is probably occurring, that there is a true desire, that you're beaming out, that you're craving alternative connections. They don't have to be physical, they don't have to be sexual, but you're craving alternative connections and ways of relating. And so you really are craving it, and so you're beaming it out. But if you find yourself dodging hanging out with people, dodging going out, dodging, like, it's probably because you're ready to deal with that pattern, and that false belief system is ready to get shaken and maybe fall.
I say, yeah, no, I love that. And for fellas out there, for you, the male gender, the men out there, if you keep her in the prison, the prisoner, the prisoner is in the jail, but so is the guard. You both don't see the light of day, and a lot of what we need to do to bring things back into balance is allow for the feminine to be truly free. Allow for the feminine to be truly free. And so much of how what we see in the world right now is a lot of because how we shut them down, how we shut the feminine down. So that's just something that we'll talk more on that in another video. We'll go deeper into this stuff in the future. But anyway, thank you for taking the time to just check us out and kick it with us on this one. Kirti, let them know how they can check you out, or let them know what you got going on. The 2020 workshop.
Yeah, so we have a workshop coming up on 12/21 of 2019, setting up for 2020, and actually really understanding this, how to be fully expressed for manifestation. A lot of times people in the healing world or the spiritual world or the woo-woo way, we kind of think of like manifestation. I'm just going to think of it and it's going to happen and it's going to appear. And we're talking about, yes, thinking it and creating it, but what are the actual processes, right? So understanding that Shakti of the desire of wanting something, but what is the Shiva? What is the masculine that's coming in to provide the structures to make sure that you get what you are creating? So very in line with the work that we're doing personally. Everything we teach, I feel like, is we process it, we go through it, and we're like, oh, do you think we could teach a workshop on this? Or maybe we should teach a workshop on this process. So there's 3 of us, and we've all been really, everything we're presenting, Shophar, Golden, and I, is stuff that we've personally been working through this year, and we are actually ready to manifest and create for ourselves. So it's not like, guru student. It's really just like all of us gathering in tribe. So to find out about any of that and more of the work that I do, you can find me on Instagram, theirSELF.KirtiDance. That's DILSE dot, and it should pop up, Kirti, Kirti, dance, and theirSELF means from the heart. So it's all about, everything I post is just from my heart, and hope you feel what I do and do what I feel.
I say, and I'm Shophar from Faux Show Energy Work, and do coaching for men, women, and couples. Do energy work for men, couples, and women. Singles. That's what I was trying to say. And then I have a book, Soul Sacred Orgasmic Living. And podcast. You can check out the rest of my YouTube channel for different topics and stuff about sensuality and consciousness and the relation between the two. And lastly, workshops. We do a series called Hip Hop Kundalini with 2 other dope facilitators. Shout out to Soul and Kiyoshi. And we also do intimate relating together, and we have a new one coming out, Kiss, Keep It Simply Sensual, Kiss. And we'll be doing other workshops and stuff in the future amongst ourselves or with other facilitators as well. And so, thank you again for checking us out. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share.
I feel like there's one more gem.
Sure.
Just one last line.
Okay.
And I wanted to just say for the guys out there who are getting really excited by this video, like, oh wow, like this is totally happening, because I could see, I'm sure there's lots of women too that will be excited about like the opportunity and the idea of being fully expressed and not having to worry about anybody getting jealous about you being able to have a great conversation at your job with a coworker because he's a man, but like don't have to shut yourself off from that because he's a man, right? Like it's really exciting. Like, what? I can be like a kid in elementary school again and just like play with boys and girls and it's all good and it's all fine. It's really exciting. And I just wanted to say one thing to like my male body counterparts out there, that if this really makes you excited because you're like, man, I have this desire to sleep with a lot of women, that's okay. One way to really help you understand, or wow, this really makes me excited so I can finally approach that relationship with this woman that I've always been thinking about. Okay, that's great. And right now, you may be in a relationship or a situation. And so a great way is, are you ready to let her do the same? And if your first thought is like, hell no, then slow down. And
stay at stage 1.
And just, and we're like, probably stage 1, maybe brinking on stage 2. End of stage 1, very close to stage 2. I mean, we're there. By no means, like Sho said, there's always things to learn. So just ask yourself that. Like, if you're like, oh yeah, man, I want to do this. Yes. And it gets you geeked up. And if you're a female-bodied person, again, are you okay with your partner, doing the same thing? So, we really need to just ask ourselves, when we have these desires and we're scared to share them and there's shame and guilt, are you okay with the other person doing it? And that is going to really help you understand the voice. That's a part of this false belief system. And
dudes, really, 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 really hone in. Don't fool yourself, because the male ego is very fragile. It's one thing for you to go out here doing it yourself, but a lot of guys, again, that's about the polygamy thing. When you reverse it, we're not ready a lot of times. So don't fool yourself. Do the work. Yes. Do the work. And
while we're saying like men and women and fellas and ladies, I really truly believe that this is all very energetic.
Yeah.
And so really at the end of the day, this is about partnership and relating. In all shapes, sizes, and forms.
Wherever you fall in the spectrum. For all of those, out there, please forgive us, the way,
we're learning on the pronouns.
We're learning on the pronouns and all of that. And, it's still a learning process and everything, but it's all love. And again, thank you all for checking us out. Keep shining, keep climbing. Peace.
That was for you later. You could edit it.